There were several girls in a school, and they were having a conversation about. They were in an art class, and there was a little boy who was talking about having his male private parts removed, and that would make him a girl. And another child, another little boy who was a sixth grader, said, "No, that's not how it works." And he said that would not make you a girl. In other words, the sixth grader was raised with a pretty good dose of common sense and a very good understanding of how human biology works and what gender is all about. But instead of being celebrated for stating the facts, this little boy was literally dragged out of the class, and he was punished by the school. Well, our good friends over at Liberty Counsel are all over this story, and Richard Mast, who is an attorney with Liberty Counsel, is on the Newsmaker line, along with the mother of the sixth grader. And I just want to say right up front, we're not going to share with you the mother's name, so we're going to call her Jane, as in Jane Doe. And you understand, folks, the amount of vitriol directed at good Christian people by the section gender revolutionaries, so we're very happy to do that. Richard, Jane, welcome to the show.
Hi, Todd. Thanks so much for having us.
Now, Richard, we're gonna do ladies first here because I want Jane to tell us the story and explain what happened back in May of 2019, May of this year. Jane, tell us what happened.
Sure. Well, this was on a Monday. My son came home from school, and he was all excited because he was so proud of himself for standing up for the truth. He told me just very briefly, he's not a very talkative person, but he said basically that he had told some girls that a boy who believes that he is a girl is actually a guy. And so I was like, yay, that's awesome. I'm so proud of you for standing up for the truth. And then the very next day, I got a call from the assistant principal explaining to me that my son and two other boys had been punished because they were bullying a boy who was transgender. I was like, whoa, this is totally different than what my son had told me. So I talked to him about it when he got home from school, and he was very upset when he came home because he felt like he was being punished for doing the right thing. And the more I talked to him about it, he didn't do it out of any malice. He truly was just tired of hearing them talk about this boy planning to get hormone replacements and surgically removing his body parts so that he could, quote unquote, become a girl. And that he didn't say in any kind of bullying manner at all. And the vice principal actually told me that my son received a lesser punishment than the other two boys because she felt like he perhaps was more just, I guess, with people who had worse intentions than him. But he was still punished. He was removed from gym class that day. The other two boys were suspended. So he did receive a punishment just for telling the truth, for telling this boy that he was a guy and not a girl.
Let me jump in there for a moment, Jane. So how old is your son?
He's 13.
13 years old, sixth grade. Is this an elementary school or a middle school?
It's a middle school.
The idea that I'm just taken aback that they're having these kinds of conversations at the middle school these days.
I am floored as well, but I've seen this young man. My son has pointed it out to me. He's told me about him, ever since the beginning of the school year last year. About this boy. He dresses as a girl. He wears pink shoes, and so we've been praying for him. Ever since my son brought it to my attention, and at one of the school events, he pointed him out to me so I could see who this was. And sure enough, he was wearing a dress. So it's a very sad thing that he is confused about who he is at such an early age, and that the parents are encouraging him in that way.
Now, Richard, I want to bring you into the conversation here. Tell us how Liberty Counsel came to be involved in this case.
Well, Jane here and her husband reached out to us, and they wanted to find out about the rights of their student or student rights. And that's a common question because these issues arise in the schools, and then we have to say, okay, what rights do we have in this situation? First Amendment protects the right of students to kindly speak the truth in love, as happened in this case. They can agree or not agree as long as they're not shouting words or seeking to intentionally hurt other people's feelings. They're protected by the First Amendment in how they address hot-button issues. And this was an issue that was thrust upon him. It wasn't one that he brought up himself.
I'm curious, how has the school responded to the incident? Have they apologized, Richard?
Well, they have given us the request that we requested. We wanted to make sure that no students would be punished for expressing respectful disagreement on the subject of transgender claims by other students, and they said that they do not discipline students for expressing respectful disagreement on any topic. And we wanted confirmation that no students will be punished or subjected to official coercion for using pronouns consistent with sex, with male sex in reference to boys and female sex in reference to girls. And they said that they do not discipline students for using certain pronouns, and that they recognize that these are hot-button issues. The one point that they did confirm that his record had no record of discipline, but it seemed that there was a bit of parsing of words between formal discipline and what happened here. He was certainly disciplined. Whether they kept it through didn't keep a record of it, or the record disappeared, they did respond that there's no formal discipline in his file. So on all three counts, on all parts of the request, they've confirmed what we requested, and we're pleased that they've committed to behaving in a more neutral fashion. At least that's what we received on paper. It's up to parents to police their children's activities at school, and really to be vigilant, because they can say one thing and do another, and we've seen that a lot.
Oh, sure. Jane, I want to bring you back in here. As a person of faith, and I take it you are a Christian based on just based on some of the things you've said here. I mean, what are you telling your family, and what are you guys discussing as a family when it comes to these issues of religion under attack? Because that certainly is what it seems to be like here in this situation at the school.
Well, we've been teaching our children that we must always speak the truth in love, and to never back down from the truth. And specifically when it comes to individuals who are struggling with identity issues, what we recognize that what they really need is inner healing and deliverance. They don't need people bashing them over the head, telling them they're wrong or anything like that. But we speak the truth in love and pray for them that the Lord will soften their hearts and that they will come to an understanding of their true identity, who God created them to be.
Wow, this is, your son did the right thing here, and does he understand that? Does he understand that he did nothing wrong here, Jane?
He does now. He was really, really frustrated because he felt like he was being punished for doing the right thing. And, when he was brought into the principal's office, he understood from her that he would be required to refer to this boy as a girl going forward. And that was what was really disconcerting to me, and why we reached out to Liberty Counsel, because at that point in time, I did not know what Ohio law said about that, if my son could in fact be required to refer to a boy as a girl, if that's what the individual preferred. So, of course, I was so relieved to find out that that was not the case, and that my son could not legally be required to refer to a boy as a girl. But honestly, it's very confusing to children. As my son was telling me the story, he kept flipping back and forth with the genders, because this is a boy who's dressing as a girl but looks like a boy but wants to be called a girl, and it's confusing for children to be handling these.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Richard, real quick here, I want to bring you back in. Is this an anomaly, or are you guys hearing of more stories surrounding these transgender issues?
Well, there are more stories, and it's not in a vacuum. It's on the basis of activism, that the activists want to capture the minds of your children. And so we have things like the gender unicorn and the genderbread man, designed to divorce the idea that, or to go away from the idea that sex and gender are synonymous. They have traditionally been synonymous, and they are designed to create confusion in the minds of kids about gendered identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, all of these age-inappropriate things that boys and girls need a sense of certainty. If you can't trust who you are, that this is not reality, then that's a very disturbing thing for a small child. And we've had children that have reported to parents who contacted us saying, "Mommy, will I turn into a girl?" because they've read these books in the classroom. And so it's very dangerous, very damaging, and parents need to be very vigilant to exempt their kids from this.
All right. Well, good stuff, guys. Thank you so much for coming on the program today. Jane, hang in there. Best of luck to you guys and the family. And Richard, you guys keep at it. Liberty Counsel, a blessing, the great work you guys are doing.
Well, thanks, Todd.
I would just like to say we're so thankful for Richard and Liberty Counsel, and I'd encourage any parents who are listening to reach out to them if they're experiencing similar issues, and not to be afraid to encourage their children to speak up for the truth. Because if we don't do it, who is? And I feel like, honestly, what we're seeing today is a modern-day case of the emperor who is wearing no clothes. It may end up needing to be children who are telling the truth,
Good point. It's a fair point, Jane. All right. Appreciate both of you guys. Jane Doe, Richard Mast. Folks, do you see what's happening in our public schools? A little boy, a sixth-grade boy, got in trouble because he told a little boy that he was a little boy.